Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for taking the time to look at the Zenith Minerals story. What I'll do here in the short time that I've got is just run through the proposition and our portfolio so you can get a feeling for the Zenith story. So why Zenith? Obviously, our strategy is very much focused on precious and base metals. We feel, and I'll follow up on this, but we feel this is a very strong space to be in the short and medium term. We're currently very active all within Australia, both in the gold and copper space. So we're drilling 3 projects this current quarter. And we think they're all in tier 1 regions where you can have multi-million ounce or multi-million tonne endowment. The strategy is very specific to target large-scale deposits, as it says there, to make a significant value impact to the company. We have sufficient cash and we're getting on with it. So let's just launch into the presentation. So looking at our gold projects, the 2 I'm going to spend the most time on today are Red Mountain, which is located, as you can see on the map there, in southern Queensland, and the Split Rocks Gold Project in Western Australia. They're 2 quite different projects. Red Mountain, a high-grade proposition, Split Rocks, large volume, shear-hosted proposition. And for information, we've got the Jackadri Gold Project, which we hope to be getting on and drilling in northern New South Wales, hopefully later this quarter. Focusing in on Queensland, just to orientate you, I mean, this is a very prospective region. You can see Red Mountain down in the bottom of the image there, surrounded by the Krakow Gold Mine, Mount Gordon, Mount Morgan, and then up to the north, the Mount Carlton and Mtwright projects. Take note of Mtwright because I'm going to come back to that. And just for your information, you can see the location of our Devlin Creek copper project in amongst it as well, which I will talk about a little later. Red Mountain, this is a virgin discovery for Zenith, an excellent discovery by the team. It's a breccia pipe system. The image on the left, which is a plan, you can see that we've identified a very high-grade area on the margins of the pipe system on the left-hand margin there, or the western margin. So we got in having found that and started drilling with a significant degree of success last calendar year, and that has continued on into this calendar year. Most significantly, hole 40 on the cross-section on the right intersected free gold in 5 separate occasions and ended in free gold. So really exciting hole down to about 160 odd vertical meters or thereabouts. That has encouraged us to follow up with more drilling, which is underway currently, which are those planned holes, and hopefully we'll have some success with them in the near term. But watch this space. So what are we chasing here? From a comparative perspective, I mentioned Mtwright earlier. Mtwright is a proven million-ounce size resource that has been exploited by other parties down to about 1,000 vertical meters. It's a breccia pipe system. If we overlay the silhouette of the Mtwright mineralisation underneath Red Mountain, you can get a bit of a flavour of what we're chasing. So that free gold drill hole, hole 40, which I illustrated in the previous slide, sits at about 160 vertical metres, which is illustrated by that little gold ellipse there, and we are drilling underneath that at the minute. But clearly you can see if it manifests in the same manner as Mtwright, we've really got a ball game. So I think this is something we're very excited about, and I would encourage you to watch this space because it's a very fertile part of the world that hasn't been well explored, and this is in fact a virgin discovery. Moving to Western Australia now, slightly different proposition, the Split Rocks Gold Project to the south of the township of Southern Cross, as illustrated by that little brown rectangle in the image. Is something that we have also been drilling quite actively for about 6 to 8 months. We've defined 18 targets over an 18-kilometre strike length, and we are actively drilling right now and will continue to do so right through this quarter. If we jump to the next slide, I just want to leave you with a couple of thoughts. As I said, 18 kilometres of strike length. we've already defined a 2 kilometre long mineralised zone within the very centre of the area, which is called the dulcilaterite pit area. So again, watch this space. It's been defined over 2 kilometres down to about 120 odd metres in depth, with some great intersections, which you can see illustrated there on the left. And drilling will continue. Clearly, our objective here, like with Red Mountain, is to define a good quality commercial resource that can be mined or exploited. Now let's jump to copper. So copper, as we know, great commodity, heavily used commodity, and I'm going to focus in on the Devlin Creek project, which I mentioned earlier in southern or central Queensland. But before that, let's just talk a little bit about the macro market, the copper market. So it's the world's largest consumption market, about 22 million tonnes, 23 million tonnes consumed per annum currently. And that consumption has been growing at sort of 2 to 2.5% per annum compound for a number of years, with what would seem an inexorable demand for the commodity, and we've seen that illustrated recently with respect to the copper price. These are a couple of very interesting slides projecting that by 2028, in order to satisfy what appears to be a 5.4 million tonne deficit, or about 22 odd % of the total annual consumption for copper, $106 billion needs to be committed in order to meet that supply side deficit. Now, clearly, with the whole green revolution, whether that be motor vehicles, mobile phones, batteries, green electricity generation, etc., it would appear that that demand is not going to wane because currently most of the consumption is going into traditional sources like pipe and wire. So, exciting place to be. No wonder the copper price is sitting around $4 a pound. If we jump to our copper proposition, which is the Devlin Creek project, there's an illustration of Devlin Creek on the right-hand side of this slide 11. We already have a defined resource at Sulphide City to the north. This is a VMS system with some exciting follow-up work right down to the south past Snook. To give you a flavour for these sort of systems, if you were to compare the scale of this one to some very well-documented ones like Golden Grove in Australia, Jaguar in Australia, and Noranda in North America, which are very well-documented quality projects, this is a project of scale. It's only very early days for us, but we've already had some great success. We've done some initial drilling, and if I jump to the next slide, you can see that the existing resource at Sulphide City to the north, and then the stratigraphy stretches right down to the south at Wilson's, and some quite exciting results at Snook. So the activity levels here, this current quarter and probably stretching into the next one are as follows. We've got some quite specific drilling being undertaken, both at Sulphide City and Snook, and some geophysical work both at Snook and to the south at Wilson's. And clearly the outcome of both of those things will no doubt generate more activity. Very exciting thing. These VMS systems can be very profitable, so we're keen to just keep rolling on this one. I just wanted to close out now by making a couple of more general points. When we consider our three core projects being Split Rocks Gold, Devlin Creek Copper, and Red Mountain Gold, they're all fairly early in their life cycle. So these are not mature projects. They're at the early stage. And as I pointed out, Devlin Creek is in fact a virgin discovery. So one would anticipate that as we advance on each of these projects, the ability to generate value for shareholders and value for the business, we feel is high. So I'd very much stress, watch this space and keep an eye on these three projects in particular. From the perspective of Newsflow, obviously it's fairly clear. At Red Mountain, we're drilling that. We're undertaking some geophysics both in this current quarter. Split Rocks Gold, we're just continue to drill, and we will do so well into the half of the year. And then Devlin Creek, whilst I've touched on it reasonably quickly, you get the feeling for that. It's a very interesting VMS system. It extends for over 50 kilometres and needs plenty of work done to it to try and unlock the value there. And then there are many other things in our portfolio which I haven't had time to touch on today. But for example, we've got a joint venture on the Erahidi Zinc project, which will be drilled in March. So plenty of things to watch. Watch this space. Thank you so much for spending the time to watch the presentation. Please put Zenith Minerals, ZNC, ASX on your watch list and watch this space. Thank you so much. Bye for now.